How are you doing, man? How are things with you, dude? We haven't spoke to you. I think the last time I saw you was about 10 weeks ago, a bit longer, actually.
Hold on, sorry, bro.
That's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, when pre-lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. I think I saw you around the gym at that time. I think it was. Yeah, but how was things with you? You managed to be keeping up with working out and stuff because you were about to like embark on. You'd just been signed to a few fights, hadn't you? And you were like,
yeah. It was the week prior to the fight. I think it was 2 weeks before. That's when things started to get shaky, and then the week before, that's when everything got cancelled.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a bummer, really. And that previous week before fight week, like the gym started to shut anyway, so there was only me and Owen training.
You made weight though, didn't you? You made weight.
Yeah. For some reason, I could just eat what I want and make weight. It's a gift.
It's genetics. No, it's good though. I mean, I think you'll probably know yourself because how into nutrition you are. That metabolism at this point will be firing so much that no matter what you seem to chuck into your engine, they will just burn it as fast as possible. You know, eventually it should do well. As you get older and older, you probably have to eat less calories.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a chore to eat. But I think in the past, I made the mistake. I restricted too much. Like, obviously, I put that little post up the other day. But I was eating, which considered to some people will be a lot. I was eating 3,000 calories. Bear in mind, my job would have stripped like the majority of that. Then I was going to spar on top of that. I probably needed at maintenance like 4,000 to 4,500 calories. And just to eat that, like now when I've got a lot more tools, I know about like how what foods digest in my body. Like big into shakes, like quick carbs and stuff like that. But back then I was trying to do it all clean eating, like potatoes and broccoli, and just no chance. Like
as in your stomach was too full. It was hard to train on.
Yeah. And just like obviously digesting all that plant matter and stuff like that. But you learn what's good for you. I mean, white rice is the key for me and a lot of guys. Like when you're on high calorie diets for performance, you need white rice is probably the easiest thing to digest.
Yeah, and a really good.
There's no fiber to it, so.
And a good carbohydrate as well, you know. It's a really good carbohydrate, you know. Like what I wanted to like start talking about really is like because have you always in your fights in the fights that you've had or since you've been training, like, but generally in your fights, have you always been your own nutritionalist? You've never really taken anybody's advice. Have you always just guided yourself through it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like my free time pretty much is like I'm just nerding out constantly, like reading articles. I've bought several like ebooks on how to cut weight, like George Lockhart's, and so you sort of test it out in your own body. And the thing is now, like with my jobs as well, I've always been able to wear headphones, so you can digest. Like you can learn anything through podcasts. So the information's there, but it's just a case of trial and error, really. But yeah, the first time I cut weight, I cut like 7 kilos in 24 hours, and it was just, it was miserable because I read about that. Yeah, it was not good, man.
What do you weigh in now? What do you weigh?
So now I've put on a bit of mass. I won't say, like 79, 80 kilos. I've gone up. But I'm going to maintain, like this to me is easy. I can maintain this. I'm not doing much cardio at the minute because I'm just trying to build some strength. Obviously, I'm trying to get my first dunk out, so I'm like...
Yeah, I've seen that. Close today, weren't you? So you need to...
Yeah. I'll be getting it, man. I'll be getting it.
So you've been doing some spring training. I'm trying to build strength. I'm just building strength up in my calves so I can jump really high.
It's just an ego thing, innit? It's like...
Yeah. I want to be able to slam dunk and knee somebody in the head. How do I work out for that?
It's a good combo, man. Basketball complements striking sports well.
Yeah,
explosive. Yeah. Is that what's brought that on, man? Have you by any chance watched The Last Dance recently?
Do you know what? I used to play as like in college and at school and stuff like that. So it's not like I've just gone full fanboy The Last Dance.
But have you seen it?
I'm up to, I think it's episode 8.
Yeah, that's where I am. Yeah.
It's starting to get a bit like same now. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're just going through Jordan's legacy and how much of a psycho he is and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was weird when I first started watching it. I knew it was amazing, and Americans would always big him up as like, you know, up there with Muhammad Ali up there as one of the all-time greats of any sport ever. You know what I mean? And it's not until you actually see it put in front of you and you're like, whoa, actually, yeah man, he did it. He did it right as well from a very young age. You know, like he had it burning inside him and told people. Do you know what blows my mind is that people who become the greatest in whatever field they choose, is that they say it at the start. They're almost like this, I'm going to be the best. You watch, I will be the best. And they just do it. It's insane.
Yeah. I think it's like most people who watch that and hear the podcast is like, obviously there is a cost to pay for that. Yeah. Like when you watch him now after, you're like, this guy, he just seems, it's like it's a complete different person. Where you look at Scottie Pippen, he's still happy and like, he's got that vibrancy in his face.
Yeah.
Whereas Jordan now, he just looks like a broken man, but he obviously, who am I to say that?
I can't imagine how rich he is now. I mean, I suppose that's the thing though, isn't it? It doesn't actually matter how much money you've got when it comes to that.
He doesn't care.
Yeah. You know, so, but it was amazing. It blew my mind, not to hop on about this, we deviated onto basketball, but it blew my mind how much Scottie Pippen just didn't get paid. You know, like
that's crazy.
It's crazy, man. And he was like, you could argue that without Scottie Pippen, would the Bulls have done as well? I know that it almost seemed like a one-man team, but the more you look,
no chance. Even Jordan says it himself about Scottie. That Chicago Bulls team wouldn't have existed. I just love that Rodman episode, man. Like,
yeah,
the attitude.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
Going out partying and coming in and destroying everyone. It's like the John Jones of basketball.
Yeah, it's not fair. Some people just can do that, can't they?
Yeah.
I remember reading George St. Pierre's book, and
the way of the fight. Is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he was saying that somebody was like commenting, because he has comments on through the book where you get like John Danaher writes a couple of pages about him and the stuff, and somebody was saying that they'd been out on a night out, and he was like, right, let's get there and go and train before the hangover kicks in. You know, let's go before the hangover kicks in. It's just like how I can't fathom how professional sports people can just have that mentality. Be like, no, it's fine. Let's just go and do it. Let's get it done. Yeah.
I think you can do it to a certain point, like, and then I mean, I'm still young, but like, it's like 28. When I was like 20, 21. Like, we'd go out drinking and then be training the day after and stuff like that. But I think when you do martial arts, you're like, I'm not going to drink and go sparring. It's just, it's not one of them things. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a health and safety. Yeah.
Well, what got you into sort of sports and fitness initially then? Let's start back at the beginning then, Josh. Where did it all come from?
I did martial arts as a kid. So I think I was like one of them lively kids. Hold on, buddy.
That's all right.
Sorry, say that again.
No, keep going. Go on. You did what as a kid? Go on.
As a kid,
So like obviously primary school, I was like the lively kid with too much energy. It's more like a lot of martial artists are, and just launching kids around from like spinning the kids on the playground and stuff. So then my dad took me to there was a taekwondo school in the gym. Like obviously, a lot of the old karate taekwondos, they'd run them in school halls.
I can picture this. I can picture this, man. This is like, he's got too much energy. We need to direct this somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's go and
I think that's most kids, in it. Like, sports are the outlet for energy. But I did that for a bit, and it was good. But even then, like, you sense like the Carters, they were just completely took me away from it. Obviously, I loved sparring and stuff like that, but did that, and then I got obsessed with like WWE, but it was obviously WWF at the time.
Yeah.
I was like fully into that, man. Like watching. Bear in mind, this was like 2000s. I was watching like 80s WrestleManias, like studying the game as like a young man. And then just did like a variety of sports growing up. So I'm big into skate. I'd say the biggest ones were like skateboarding, cricket. Surprisingly, like I played that for many years, and then basketball was like a side hobby as well. So they were like the three big things, and martial arts sort of interspersed in between. But then obviously, sort of turning 18, in fact, no, it was 16, left school, 16. You sort of, you start going out around town, you find the local gym and bicep curls, and like girls and stuff like that. So like, my attention got directed towards that. I was still playing sports and stuff, but and then 19, that's when I joined the Paras. So it was like, went heavy on the cardio then.
Do you think because I have a lot of sort of ex-military friends, and they all seem to have this like installed in them, this sort of drive, this fitness drive. It seems to be like put in there by the military. Do you know what I mean? Do you think that affected you when you're saying you did lots of cardio? Do you think like it's like this sort of foundation that's built by the military and built in the right way, I suppose, by doing lots of running?
I'd like to say it is, but I see a lot of guys who've been in the military and they come out and it's like, they give you like that tool there, they sort of instill that mental toughness there. And then when you see guys leave the military, a lot of them, it just fades away and you're like, oh man, what a shame. Like you've been given that tool to sort of, you push beyond your limits more than anything. I mean, like a hard spar and a fight, it's different because it's short, prolonged. But like the military training is like prolonged. It's like for weeks and months of just suffering. So it's a valuable tool, man. But
do you think it was detrimental on your joints or anything? Because obviously, like with Paras as well, it's
luckily I didn't serve long enough. I sort of left in a unethical manner. Let's just keep it that way. But like I'm not gonna like. But I wanted to leave. They didn't let me leave. But reasons were because like you're a grown man getting spoke to like a child, so it's sort of
sure, yeah.
It's one of them. I got what I wanted out of it. It was sort of like self-proclaimed rite of passage sort of things, At that age, I needed direction really. Sort of, I wouldn't say I was going off the rails, but I just sort of got caught up in the wrong things, as young lads do. But I do think I've always said I think it's essential. Like young men do a prolonged period of that, like 6 months national service or some form of like, even just if you did like a 6 months Muay Thai camp, do you know what I mean? Like anything like that.
To check the ego sort of thing. And
yeah, definitely, man. Like my ego's been beaten out of me over the years.
But it will also give you. It will also give you. It'll also give you tons of things as well, won't it? Like when you get into the regime of constantly working out and feel the benefit of working out cognitively and physically, you feel the benefits. You feel you feel more ready for everything in life, and if you're a young guy and you're working out, you say if you were in the Paras and you were doing that much working out, you felt the worth of all that and how good it felt. You're taking that away from you as well, and if you leave and you know how good it is to feel like that, then that's something to take with you as well. Like you say though, different humans, because you can get different people in that. They can get different people in that scenario and they use it differently. Some of them come out and they just eat loads of shit and get fat, or you get some of them that like they'll carry on and they've got that militant mindset of almost like Goggins-esque focus of like, no, I want to challenge my mind. If I'm not being challenged and I'm not being beasted, then I'm not living and I'm not progressing. I'm not pushing forward. And I think it's a tool to take with you. It just just decide what you do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask you, man, is were you much of a fighter anyway? I mean, probably had a few scraps, but were you someone that looked for trouble, or is it just the martial arts side of it that got you into actual fighting?
No, I've never been like, I just say like, how can I explain? I was like, if you put it in American terms, almost like a playful joke. Like,
okay.
Like I was like a jokester, but I loved to play, like, no shit, like, loved play fighting, like, just competing, you know, like what we do on the mat. But I've never been one of them, like, aggressive types. It's just, I don't think it's sort of instilled in me. Obviously, when you're younger and you're going out in town, like, obviously in Keighley, most lads, you do get a few dust-ups, but it always felt wrong when I was younger. And then over the years, it's like, yeah, just no need for it, really. I think, especially now, once you have fought, you see how sort of vulnerable humans are.
I think once you've sparred, once you just sparred someone, it's over, isn't it? You really, if you, as soon as someone hits you in the face, and you're like, oh, I didn't want them to do that, and they did that, you know, because you're sparring with someone, you don't want them to hit you. The idea is like hit and not get hit. But if someone can actually hit you, you're like, oh, you know, and you realize how vulnerable you are and how easy things could go wrong, especially on the street. It goes without saying that all three of us definitely are aware that street fighting is completely different because of the things that can go wrong, you know.
Yeah, I was doing security. I did that after my first year competing. So that's why I had to, like, put a big halt on working full-time training, doing, like, the doors in Keighley and stuff like that. And that was just horrible. Like,
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was just like a quick fix for cash. I mean, it's an experience, but I was not cut out for that kind of work, man. Like,
yeah, I've seen a few things. You know, when you're like in Barnoldswick when I was younger, in the town that I live in.
Well, same town, like same mindset, innit? Like
same mindset, man. It's changed a lot now. You know, like in Barnoldswick, that's just not about, you know. But when I was younger, man, just seeing things emblazoned into my mind. You will have the exact same of just like, ooh,
yeah,
oh, Jesus, you know what I mean? And it's just so brutal because things could just go so wrong. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You could see someone die in front of your eyes. You know, it's like, I don't know, but martial arts is different because of how humbling it is, especially like sparring or jiu-jitsu or something like that. You know, it's like there's something there that's like you're playing, but if you realize how vulnerable you are, man.
You reminded me, you know, I sent you that, I tagged you in that video of Sanchai when he's just sparring with that guy. He's obviously like he's just playing around, isn't he?
Sanchai.
He does like a
scissor kick. It's like
a scissor kick, a cartwhole kick or something like that.
Cartwheel, yeah.
And the guy just doesn't expect it, and it just hits him proper clean and just knocks him out.
The ties are just the whole. Hey, oh, sorry. Can you hear that background noise?
No, it's all right.
Correct.
Oh, no. Like, yeah, their demeanor, like the way they act, it's almost like, if you see him, you'll see them on gyms, like on the Yokkao gym. It's almost, like, I wouldn't like to say they're almost homosexual with each other, but that's how it'd appear if a Westerner went over.
Yeah.
Like, they're very close and like touching each other's bums and rubbing each other and stuff, and like but then they'll beat your ass. It's like, oh.
Yeah, fucking hell, man. They're unbelievable, man. It's one of the things over there. They're obviously they invented Muay Thai, and obviously, but just seeing the way they spar is unbelievable. Obviously, the top of our league can go over and do the exact same, you know, like Liam Harrison and Spencer and stuff like that. But seeing them go over, seeing them actually like play spar. I remember if me and Joe train, he's like, can we not just like, you know, have you seen them like play spar with each other? Would you want to do that? I'm like, mate, we are nowhere near skilled enough for me to be throwing my leg at you and you randomly checking it. I'll be like, you know what I mean? Like they've got a way of turning their kicks over and doing this to not cause injury and stuff like that. It's so crazy to see how skilled they are, you know. But like go on.
Sorry. I was going to say Muay Thai, like you see that as well. I think it is a sport suited, like from an aesthetic point of view, for short people, like short limbs.
Yeah. Like
when you watch tall guys, even like when I competed in Muay Thai, and I just feel like it's very messy for taller people. Like when you get in the clinch.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, like when you watch the because obviously there's less room. How can I explain now? But obviously their limbs are much short, so when they throw the kicks, it's up and down super quick. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you watch a tall guy, they're not going to be throwing kick returns like Thais do. But when you watch them fight live, it's just like up, down, strike, in and out.
So yeah, because obviously, obviously, like me and Lee are basically novices when it comes to stand-up fighting, and we've like Lee's done quite a lot of boxing, but I don't think people realize like the actual like intricate details between like the differences between sort of kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Yeah, it's a lot different, man.
It is a different sport, isn't it? It's as like I sort of was saying it to Lee. I was like, I think that the difference between them is almost as big a difference as between like gi and no gi in jiu-jitsu. It's like they are completely different intricacies. But I've never heard that before, and that's really interesting. So is that why you prefer kickboxing then? Because you're quite tall, aren't you? Like
Yeah, definitely. Like with my strengths, they're not really suited for Muay Thai. I mean, obviously, it's not saying I'm not. If I did more of it, then I don't want to sort of rule myself out. But I enjoy kickboxing. Like I don't want to be caught up in the clinch. I sort of want to jab, low kick, move off, heavy hands, and low kicks.
Yeah, man.
I think.
Go on.
I was going to say, I think it's essential, like, to have a Muay Thai base to do K1. Because when you spar a lot of guys who are pure K1, they haven't got that ruggedness of, like, the technical details you pick up from training Muay Thai. Just them cheeky little details.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like your style. I like watching you fight, and then also spar and your training videos and stuff like that. I just like your movement, and it is different. Luke taught me that, like, the difference between fighting kickboxing and fighting Muay Thai, because Luke's such a tactician in his Muay Thai.
Yeah.
He was the one that I remember he fought a Portuguese guy. I can't remember.
Yeah, that Rui Bracinco, were it?
Yeah, and he
we watched that live. And that's when I first met you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I've got that on my YouTube channel, actually. I recorded that, and it's been on there, and it's one of them that I didn't look at it for ages, and it's got like 900 views or something ridiculous like that, people watching it. But I remember watching that, and Luke said to me, the thing about that guy is he came out and he were bouncing around, Muay Thai, you can't really be bouncing because, the tacticians, man, they'll just be smacking your legs off, you know what I mean? But I think the difference with your kickboxing, what I really love is your movement and how you move but still land your low kicks. Like I was watching, obviously, the guy that you fought last, you said to me that he wasn't the most technical person.
It was a bum journey, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
no, but it was one of them where how you managed to land your low kicks on him was just like I really, really like, and I can see what you worked out on the bag and in practice, you can just implement it against someone. And when you're doing that and you can do that, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. It comes, man. Eventually, after like a few years, you're like chipping away and sparring. You're like, I'm never going to land it. And then, obviously, just the more time you put into it, it sort of comes second nature then.
Yeah, and how deadly a leg kick is, because you can kick someone's leg like normally, but then when you're batting it downwards, when you bring your leg down, that's like, fuck that shit. You could see that guy had like, as soon as he took one of them, we were like, oh no, like. I want to be anywhere else but right here, And that's.
I was like, sorry, go on.
No, I think that's the challenge behind. I'm going to pull you away from what you were saying, because I'm going to ask you a question, but I think that's a challenge behind fighting, like, because you're in there. Have you ever been in a situation where you started taking damage and your mind started wandering, and, like, you started having to talk yourself back into the fight?
Yeah, I think when I went out to Thailand, and I fought out there, I ain't fought for a long time. 2 years. I had a couple of fight camps, but the fights fell through, and that was in K1. And then this one were Muay Thai A class, and it was some big French guy, like, who were a lot bigger than me. I was quite chunky then. I think I had a few bit too much mass, man, but. And the first round started, and he's like, it was quite tense. I still felt really relaxed in there. But he caught me. He won't have been able to tell, but he did like a shovel hook. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you step forward.
Oh.
No, with your right hand.
So right. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Holding the southpaw, and he caught me on the back of the head, and I was like, I think that's the first time I've only really been rocked. But I sort of disguised it well, and I'm like, oh shit. first round, 30 seconds. If I've not fought for 2 years, and it's like A-class Muay Thai, and then yeah, that was like a real war, that like 5 rounds. But again, I just booted his legs off and sort of just kept like followed the Muay Thai principles, like just stayed strong, stayed in front of him. He was showing lots of weakness. You know, like when I was kicking his legs, they were flinching, and I would just start staying strong.
Did you spend a lot of time conditioning your legs? Because to me, it just seems like no matter how much I get kicked in my legs, it doesn't seem to not hurt. You know, like
I think it will always hurt. I think it will always hurt.
Because obviously, like I want to fight more, but it's like these thoughts that go through my head are like, do I really want to get kicked? You know, like even in sparring, when you have them leg pads on, you're still like a thud, and you're like, oh.
I think you've got to do like an apprenticeship, like a good year.
Yeah, you've just
getting kicked in the legs, yeah, and then you sort of become immune to it.
Yeah, so
that's with shin guards.
Yeah. I knew that was the answer when I was asking that question. I was like, there's no way around it, is there? There's no way around. Because obviously when you're sparring as well, I mean, it's like I've listened to quite a lot of UFC fighters talk about sparring, and some people are saying like once they know how to fight, they don't really spar as much because of the dangers of it.
Mm.
Do you find you've found injuries while you're sparring, or do you have any techniques within sparring to sort of, you know, because it can get heavy, can't it, if you're with the wrong people?
Yeah, I feel like this is funny because obviously we all train at the same gym.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Like, I train like consistent. I've never been out since like you guys have been there. I've never been out with one injury.
No, yeah.
And I look at the jigs guys, and it's like, oh, what's up this week? It's like, oh, sorry, I've been out a couple of weeks. I've broke my finger. I've done this. I've done that. I'm like,
yeah. How true is that? It's so weird, isn't it? How jiu-jitsu just everybody gets injured, but
it kills people. Like,
kickboxing, you're kicking and punching each other, and very rarely are you injured. You know what I mean? You might have a bruised shin or a bruised thigh or something like that, but
I mean, there's obviously brain damage to account for, but we're not like trying to kill each other. So
yeah.
But yeah, in regards to what you're saying, so for the most time, like, I've started to implement. So the only time, like, up until this fight, we have like, let's say, percentage. Normally, I want guys sparring. Like when I'm sparring with guys, it'll just be sort of 75% and below. But like, there's a couple of guys down there who I can do the sort of your Thai style sparring with. Do you know what I mean? Nice and controlled. And from the outset, it'll look like you're putting power in, but because you're pulling the shots as soon as you get close, it's just speed more than anything. There's no like FUD like impact.
Yeah.
But recently, I've been doing a lot of just boxing body sparring because I feel like that really simulates, like when you like 2 minutes into that, 2 minutes 30, and you can push the pace all around. It gives you that sort of that burning feeling. Do you know when you're at the end of like a hard round without obviously taking the damage to your brain?
So, yeah, so no headshots is what you mean by that.
No, and you can go like really hard with that. But in terms of like, obviously before the fight, I like 4 weeks before, I like a good few hard spars, like just 3 rounds. So like 3 rounds, maybe twice a week of just like not still trying to kill each other, but let's say 90%.
Yeah. You know, you knowing what it feels like, to be, you know, to not want to have to move forward on someone, and how risky it can be. You don't want it to just be all playful. You want to know that it's risk involved. You know, yeah.
And I think because my style depends, like I need the timing really. I don't know. Sunshine, because he's so playful in his style, he's never going to need to spar like that. But I need to like feel how fast I am and how sharp I'm throwing my punches from a distance. So
yeah, and you're a good counter striker as well. So it's like that's where you gaining your timing. You know, you can't if you're playing around, gaining your timing is just like you're going as fast as you should be going. You know, so yeah, you do need that. But it's finding the right dance partners to train with, isn't it? Finding somebody that's not going to take your head off and turn it into something else. You know, it's such a fine line. You know, I hear some like MMA fighters, and they'll talk about they when they spar, Mike Bisping talks about it, like when they spar and they'll only spar when it was going to be heavy, they'd just go heavy to the body and the legs and be like 50% to the head. You know what I mean? Which is cool.
I definitely feel like Bisping's had a good 10 years of absolute gym war. So in the past. But saying that, when I first started, like, we used to spar hard, like when I first started, and even when I was at Jai, like it was controlled, but there were still some rounds where it's like you sustain, you're doing that 90% pace for weeks on end, and it definitely wasn't healthy. Like you could feel it in your body and your recovery and stuff like that. But that's obviously the sport. Thanks to MMA, like they've implemented more science into martial arts in general. So
you feel like you've overtrained then in the past? Is that what you're saying?
Oh man, like I've spent majority of my 20s overtrained, definitely. Yeah. I think that's just from like playing catch up, but also like work and like I knew when I should rest it, but I still went in and trained and like just doing a lot of jump training as well. Like now I'm way more. I feel I suit better on like an hour and a half tops of just high intensity.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past you do like 2-hour sessions and your 5-mile run before and stuff like that, and it's just consider it junk training, especially when you're working.
That's what Jai was like, wasn't it, man?
Because you say. Sorry,
Joe,
Lee.
but that's what you alluded to with Jai there. That's what Jai was like, wasn't it? You go and you go for a run beforehand, and then you finish, and then you come back, and you know, and then you train, and before you know it, you've done over 2 hours, and you've done a little run as well. And you know, and if you've no knowledge about anything like that, you end up like cramping up. And I remember I cramped up once at Jai, and I was just like, I didn't have a clue what was going on. And that's when you started learning about what your body does, you know.
And that's like a thing, because I considered when I was at Jai, like, I'm fairly educated on training. Like, you know, I did 2 years at college. Like I was going to go to uni before the Paris to study sports and stuff like that. So I felt like I was educated, and then now you look back, you're like, shit. Like a big thing for me is, and it's a shame for you jits guys, but like I need to train and finish early. Like I don't want to be training at 8 o'clock, because by the time I get in bed, I'm still in that like sympathetic state. And a course I'm doing now online, Joel Jameson's, who's like the king of S&C for sort of MMA, he's like revolutionized it. And he's Mighty Mouse's coach, so talk about conditioning, do you know what I mean? But he's huge on sort of the stress response around training. And I was doing that during this fight camp, so I was just focused on just intensity and rest, and just managing them too, and not throwing in them junk training sessions. When it was time to go, it was time to go. When it was time to train, it was time to go 100%.
That's interesting that you're saying that, because just recently I've been doing some late night runs. Like the last thing of my day has been to go for a run. And then I just tweaked my back at work last week, and I've stopped doing it, but I've been sleeping better. And I've been like, that's strange. I wonder if I'd put it down to that. I'd put it down to my sympathetic nervous system must be heightened due to the pushing it late on, and that's affecting how much I go into my sleep pattern, I presume.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, so it's really interesting you're saying that, so that you find that if you train a little bit earlier on in the day, you're able to wind down, and then you get the recovery that you want, you know, from your sleep. So do you do a lot of running on top of what you're doing as well, or extra cardio?
Not anymore, no. Like I go through bouts. When quarantine were announced, I started to run again. So I was just doing like my aerobic base training, sort of, creating my foundation for when we're back to training. But obviously now I've like stripped the cardio, because it's Project Duncan. It's Project Dunk. But no, like I've done so much running over the years, and I don't feel like I need to do it anymore, really. Like I'll do short tempo runs, so they're like short sprints at like 70%, and then you just recover in between them. But they're more of like a recovery workout. But yeah, for now I've sort of put a cap on running, and I found when I did run, my performance was always worse. But I just think that was from not structuring the running right.
So sorry, just to get a basis of what your normal sort of training week would be then. The same like when we're not overtraining or we're not in sort of a fight camp as such where your training's upped. Is it every day? Is it every other day? What do you do?
No, so normally I do like, so we had like the advanced class. So obviously again, this relates to us guys because we're all in the same gym.
Yeah.
But Mondays, that like an advanced class, so we'd get more of our pads and sparring. Then Tuesday was pads, but it was a short session, so we still hit the pads hard. And then I do some extras after that, so just do like my skipping and shadow boxing and stuff like that, just to cool down. And then Wednesday is like a recovery day, so I'd normally do a PT, I'd have a private, and that serves as like some active recovery because I'm still moving, but just at a lower intensity. So Thursday, then again, we're sparring again. That's more of a technical spar, but it's just a lot more volume. Then once I finish that, I do my extras, my skipping, etc. Friday, so if you see like the trend I'm doing now, I'm sort of having these high days and these low days, opposed to like medium days. Do you know what I mean? So when I come back in, I can hit the high intensities. So Thursday, yeah, that's like a high day. Then Friday, I used to do Feel Good Friday. I do the bags, but once we established a Saturday class, that Friday would just be like, again, like another private. So serve as some active recovery. I'm still learning, practicing techniques. And then Saturday, that were like an invite-only sparring class and pads. So that was the hardest class, I'd say. So you sort of finishing the week on a high. So I'm alternating like high, low with my training.
It's pretty much almost every day then you're in there, and they're like hour to an hour and a half every day.
Yeah, I'd say hour and a half. Mondays, they were hour and a half sessions, and so were Saturdays.
And no extra weights on top of that or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say then, Tuesday and Thursday mornings, because they're not that hard of a session, but it equates to a high day because in the mornings I was doing my strength and conditioning stuff.
And what sort of stuff do you implement with your strength and conditioning? Is it like squats, full body movement?
So I just address. So I don't know if you've heard like, how can I say? It's called. So there's a famous book, strength coach called Dan John. It's called Easy Strength. So he's sort of structures his training again for athletes. So he just puts 2 exercises, so 2 main compounds, and just does them once a day, opposed to creating like a full workout. So you're sort of creating like a minimum effective dose workout. Yep. So Tuesday morning, I might just do like squats, some pulls, and like a plyometric activity at the start and some core work, and that's me done.
Yeah.
I've sort of maximize my intensity on those lifts, and that's it. I'm fresh when I leave because I've obviously kept within the right rep ranges and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is a shit ton in regards to that. I think we're waiting to interject there. I think the first time I ever heard that was Faraz Sahabi was talking about that. Since the lockdown, I've implemented short bouts of just heavy lifting, because I've been at home all the time. And I've not done one 40-minute session of lifting heavy. I've done incremental steps throughout the day, so like 5 sets.
We're doing the grease in the groove, sorry, because I listened to your podcast with Roy.
Yes.
So Dan John, and he wrote the book with a guy, you'll have seen him on Rogan, the Pavel Tsatsouline.
Yeah.
Kettlebell. So he sort of, So he does the grease in the groove, what you're on about.
Yeah.
So that's similar to Easy Strength. Easy Strength's more of, I'd say it's like a 30-minute workout, but you're just compressing it down, but you're doing it daily, whereas grease in the groove, you're doing more like every hour, every couple of hours, just a quick.
Yeah. Go and do a set of 12. Carry on with the rest of your day. What you're doing. Go back. 40 minutes later or something. Do another set of 12 or something.
That on that heavy bench behind you? Is that on that you're repping out on the bar?
Yeah. Bench pressing and stuff like that. My boobs are getting bigger, but I like it.
Yeah.
No, but that's the idea. Is for me anyway so far. But slowly as I've started finding new training partners. Now we're coming towards the end of lockdown. It's weird what it does that, because I have this psychological thing where I want to get stronger, but now actual training's coming back. Like I can roll with people and I'm starting to like hit pads with people and stuff. It's like, Oh, and I don't find myself putting it in. And it's really weird how, and I think that's because of trying to find a happy medium with recovery and stuff. Because you, what
Yeah,
you were talking about there is right. What you were talking about, I liked it. What you said there, where you were like, you had high days and low days.
yeah,
And I think the idea is to capitalize on your intense days. Because, you know, when you're in the full flow of it, sorry to blab on, but when you're in the, when you're in the flow of it and you're training loads, like I was doing loads of jiu-jitsu, you do loads of kickboxing. I did the last week before we broke up, I did quite a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I did a session of kickboxing as well. You have to recover. Like there is no way, there is no point in going to a session if you're not recovered, because it's going to be a pointless, what did you call it? A rubbish, what was the session? You, like throwaway session.
jump training.
Junk training. There's no point. You're training a low percentage capacity when realistically you need to be focusing on not doing anything, but not doing anything is really fucking hard.
Yeah, it's again, so that whole model's based on an old famous Canadian sprint coach called Charlie Francis. So he designed it for his sprinters, and now it's used now in like a lot of like different sports and stuff like that. But on the low days, it's like you can still train, but you've got to be really strict on your intensity. So for example, that'd be a day, well, let's say you got caught in a submission, you and Joe could go in and just roll super light. So you've got to trust your training partners. But it's having like a scale, opposed to going in and saying like, yeah, we're going to do this. Then you end up doing some floor rolling that turns into like a light sweat. But then you're taxing into your recovery reserves for the next day. So when you want to go 190%, you're effectively at 80 to 75. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I found. I think it's funny, isn't it? Because we've all sort of found similar things through different people. Like obviously, Lee mentioned the Faraz. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about, but we'll look into it.
Yeah.
But I found it through Rich Roll. They were talking about green, amber, and red days, and they were saying if you train more in your green, you actually find that your speed and everything when you need it is there, rather than just maxing out and
Yeah.
and it's exactly the same theory. But do you use any heart rate equipment, or do you use any like sort of science-based heart rate equipment to tell you what your body's doing at all, Josh? Or do you just feel?
So I've got heart rate monitor, and with the Joel's course I'm doing, he's got like a band to measure your heart rate variability. But for now, I don't because I'm not doing the aerobic style training. The only time I use the heart rate monitor is when I'm sort of in that base building foundation. So like in Rich Roll in his book, if you're ready, yeah, is that Finding Ultra?
Yeah.
When it's on about when he starts doing his triathlon training and he's doing them super slow runs to build his base.
Yeah.
I can't believe how slow I'm going. That's when it's important to have your heart rate monitor, because obviously you need to be in that 150 to 120 beats per minute.
Yeah.
Like, for now, and during fight camp as well, like with the pad work sessions, I'll wear it then because I need to see how much I come down in between rounds.
Right. Okay. How quick you recover?
Yeah. So like a good metric, I think it's like if you can drop 50 BPM per round, or sort of, I think is it down to 130? Sorry, I can't remember. But yeah, between 50 to 70 beats per minute after like a high intensity round, that's like you good to go then, sort of thing. That's like the metric for it.
Yeah, that's similar to what I've, like the Tour de France guys. What you notice with them is that they'll just be like all out, like, just done some silly numbers, whatever they are. And then they come back and they're like, right, we'll have an interview like straight away. And they're just within a minute, they're not out of breath. It's just like, that shows the sign of fitness, because they've gone from 100% back down to normal rate, the normal range within like a minute, 2 minutes. And I always thought that sort of when you're slightly overtrained is when it takes you ages to recover after you've just gone hard. And it's just like, I can't get my breath back. I'm not getting back down to my resting heart rate. And Lee talks about it. He said sometimes it makes you feel anxious when you've hit that 100% and you're like, hold on a second, I can't seem to calm it down. yeah, it's good that you're implementing all these things into your training, Josh, because obviously that's just going to make you skyrocket into it when
I feel like I go on at the guys at the gym. I'm like, look, guys, you have to do like an extended period of building that aerobic base, because that's, as boring as the training is, that's the foundation. It's like the buffering point. The wider that base is, the less you have to tax your body to go into that anaerobic state. You know, when you're puffing, obviously your body's using carbs and it creates all these byproducts, which then sort of hamper your recovery. So you do need a phase of that long, monotonous, boring training in them zones.
And what do you suggest to your kickboxing guys? What are you suggesting they run?
You just got to do, old school, man. Like, there's a reason, you know, the Thais and the boxers did them long runs. They do have a place.
Yeah.
Man.
But obviously, the more you advance in your career, you do that, like, let's say you have a long layoff from training or out of camp, like once a week in camp, maybe, possibly. But a lot of the Thais just do it because they don't have what else to do. Like, they just the volume machines, them guys.
But the bodies are used to it as well.
Exactly, yeah. They've grown up on doing that amount of mileage, but how many of them are training when they're 30, 40, do you know what I mean? And still performing. It's like Sanchai, you don't see him running, you know. He comes in it's pads and play spars and he's good to go, because he's got such a wide base from years of doing it. But it's just programming it right.
Yeah.
And understanding your own body and sort of keeping track of it. With stuff like heart rate monitors, you've got metrics there every week to see your improvements.
Yes.
And see if your mile time's going, if you're going quicker at that same heart rate. That's like the perfect metric.
Yeah, and it's up to you whether you want to monitor it. I think that's where people are like, you know,
if you're not competing.
Yeah, it's up to you, and you're on your own. You're on your own journey. If you want to see where you're going with it, then that's your own thing. And you can, and also what I found is seeing, you know, like if you've got low heart rate variability. I don't know how much is placebo though, but I do believe in it. But you know, if I wake up and my Whoop band tells me that I've got low HRV and my recovery's down at 39% or 38% or something, it's like telling me not to train, and I go and train, then I'm expecting to not perform. But if I go to jiu-jitsu on that day and I end up tapping 2 people, I'm like, oh, well, I train, you know, I did really well. But it's hard because, you know, I've felt times when I've got a low recovery rate percentage and my HRV is super low, and but then and I've not performed well, you know. It's weird, and it's a cool way to actually try and just see where you're at with it and see what's going on. And we're learning more about it nowadays. I think it's interesting times. But it's funny what you were saying though about running, because you've like you run and then you don't run, because like Joe Valtellini talks about. He talks about he doesn't run, he just hits the bag.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember when he first spoke about that years ago. Like, he's right to a certain extent. But then this is another, like, obviously I'm like, he's one of my top 5 favorite fighters.
Yeah.
Is Valtellini. There's a couple of fights where I'm like, you see him gassing the later rounds, and obviously that's all to do with his aerobic energy production.
Yeah.
In them later rounds, because he's such a power. He's so sort of focused on that anaerobic them bursts, but he needs his aerobic system to sort of recycle all the byproducts. It's hard to explain without like a pyramid or a sort of a graph to state it. But
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's tough with Joe.
It's like Thais, they run so much and they repeat that output for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
The recovery is just insane. 2 secs, Lee. My charge is going. I'm just going to run next door.
It's all right. You go, man. I'll just talk to Joe. It's all right.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, because I was talking about Joe Valtellini, and it's that thing where I remember when he fought Nicky Olskin. Remember when I sent you that fight of him fighting Nicky Olskin? Yeah. And when he fought him, it was unbelievable, man. Like I think there were a point where you could see him gassing, and he just kind of thought that he was going to lose the fight, so he stuck his head down and just started swinging for the fences, and that's when Nicky Olskin caught him. You know what I mean?
How many times do you feel that though? Like when you've actually gassed, and you know when you know yourself when you've gassed, you're like, this fight's over for me, but the other person doesn't know I'm gassed, so can I just rest? You know, like rest mid roll or mid spread. You're like, he doesn't know how tired I am, but I can defend for ages. Try and get it. Then all of a sudden, you get this second wind, and you know, like when you're doing a marathon or whatever, when you break through that wall, don't you? And it's like this energy just comes from nowhere. All of a sudden, it's just like, oh no, I feel all right now. I feel better now. That's it. I broke the wall.
Yeah,
it's just like that's why Diaz bros are just cardio machines. They're just aerobic beasts, aren't they? They just keep going. Obviously, shit on.
No, I think it's got to be hard with like the Diaz brothers and people like that when you're fighting someone that doesn't seem to falter in their cardiovascular like endurance, like Colby Covington, and there's loads of people, or Michael Bisping. It just didn't seem to just stop. They just keep. And I can't imagine how demoralizing that must feel when you're gasping for air. Your lactic acid's built up in your shoulders. You're trying to keep your arms up. You're trying to protect yourself at all times, but you can't, and you can't throw shots, especially as well. I think when you're kickboxing and Thai fighting, if people are kicking and you're blocking with your arms, trying to carry on using them arms after a certain period of time, it's going to be like, oh my god. But that's the science of kickboxing and boxing and Muay Thai in it. You know, like you've got to keep your hands up and defend yourself at all times. But when you start getting tired, you start dropping your hands and your head's out there. You know,
how easy is it though? Because at first, when you do pads, you just want to put 100% into everything, don't you? And you're like, yeah, 100%. Like, you know, like you just like hit it as hard as you can, and then after about a minute, you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, when you see like new guys on pads, and they've got like a decent right hand, they can throw a punch, but like a minute into it, you're just seeing them demoralized. Yeah, how long there is left to go.
Yeah,
that's literally me. Because when Lee used to hold pads, it were like every other sentence were like, "Get your hands back up, get your hands back up," and I'd be like, they're up, and they're not at all. Like I know they're not. It's just,
I think when you record yourself as well, if you train on your own or you're training with your friend or something like that, you realize how much people can drop the hands, you know. And as a trainer yourself, Josh, you'll notice it, won't you? When you're like, keep your hands up, keep your hands up, keep your hands up, because people have a tendency to do that and even still think they're actually holding that. You know, they're keeping their hands high. You know what I mean? Obviously, it gets to a point where Joe's talked about this, and is you get to play once you've, you know, like you learn the old school way of doing it and the tried and tested ways to keep your hands up and protect your head, you know, with your hands. Yeah. But eventually over a period of time, you know, you get to drop your hands and start taunting and start pulling them into to try and create them to come towards you and strike you. Because if you're constantly walking forward with your hands up, you know, I see you know, like if I've ever sparred you or if I've seen you doing something, it's like you might throw one hand down or keep it, and it entices people in, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got to go through like your phases of learning, and then you can break the rules, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, go on. No, I think Joe Valtellini is good at that, man. I think Joe Valtellini, what you're talking about, we could crush on him a little bit. I don't know how much time you've got, but Joe Valtellini is good at that. I'm
good for 20 minutes.
Good, man. Joe Valtellini would come forward and he'd kind of have his hands forward, but he'd always end on that low kick. So no matter what, he'd always have his hands held high and he'd take whatever shot he could take, but he'd always end on a Dutch combo or something like that.
Yeah. I feel with so like obviously I modelled my style at first on Valtellini. And then obviously he got the head trauma in after his fight. But I was listening to Stylebender because Valtellini were criticising Stylebender. And he's right, because I've got a much more similar style to Adesanya Bin Long.
Yeah.
It's like the problem with Joe is it was a punch bag, and that's why he got brain trauma.
Yeah.
And as much as I love him, like I love his style, and he could have been a beast, but he's just there constantly. And it's like, I think with the research now, he probably would have modelled his style a little bit differently. But he was taking like him and Holskin, that fight. I've shown that to my mates who have never watched K1 before, and they're like, how is this not the best sport ever? Like,
exactly.
That Holskin Valtellini fight, it's insane.
That was the fight, like I was saying to Joe before. That's the fight that I got. Joe came around to my house one time and I was just like, you need to see this fighter, Joe Valtellini. Yeah. You need to see him. Like, he's not fighting anymore. He's the commentator for Glory, kickboxing. But his fight career, although it was short and he became the world champion, man, what a guy, what a guy. So like and that's the fight to show him. Although when you see him dismantle Raymond Daniels and stuff like that, like dismantle someone who in Raymond Daniels was like seemed unformidable, with his style and stuff. And so I can't imagine how tricky it would be to fight someone like that. Joe was just like, he revered the first round and then just started getting that leg kick in and started dismantling these legs. And before you know it, Raymond Daniels started doing that, cowering as soon as he get his leg kicked. And as soon as you show weaknesses like that, like you see in MMA or like you see in anything, they go straight for it, straight for it.
Yeah.
It's such a good sport to watch, though, isn't it? Like I didn't realize, how good it was until Lee introduced it to me. I was like, am I really into kickboxing? I watch a lot of MMA. And then he showed me some of the fights you've just been talking about. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is like the getting separated and it's just constantly pushing the pace. And it's such a shame it's not bigger in this country. But then, like...
I think it's funded, isn't it? Like I was saying to someone, if, like, the game Slam used to play as a kid.
Yeah.
If that had the amount of funding that football did, it'd be the country's greatest sport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it comes down to funding, doesn't it? Really, let's be honest. Like
just mainstream. It's not just hasn't made the mainstream, has it?
No, and it's going to be hard now because you've got your sports that are established, like boxing and whatnot, and obviously MMA is growing. MMA is like the most exciting sport to watch right now. Definitely.
It's the same with jiu-jitsu though, isn't it? Like nobody really watches jiu-jitsu as, obviously like the national event or anything like that. Like football is our national sport, isn't it? And it's just like these other sports are just always going to be underfunded and represented and underappreciated because people just don't know about them. They just don't know about them, and they don't follow any of it. But
they will be doing. They must be doing all right though in terms of like Glory and Yokkao and things like that. I know they're two different styles of fights, but they're like the leading producers of content for those, like for Muay Thai and kickboxing. Like Glory, they're on UFC Fight Pass. And they seem to fight everywhere. I know most of their events are held in Holland, but they do seem to fight and have a lot of events on. And they've got some absolutely incredible talent coming up through Glory Kickboxing. The champions alone, are unbelievable. And like we say, Israel Adesanya came from there. He's someone that I remember watching fight. I remember the last fight he fought was Jason Wilness. And I thought he beat Jason Wilness, to be honest. Yeah. And then he came through and all the way through his MMA career, it's been like this dude. I've just been like, this dude's the best. He's going to watch him. And so far, he's not really faltered at all, And
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Saying that though, like, I remember watching. Did you see him get knocked out by Andy Risty?
Who?
Adesanya.
Oh no, Alex Pereira.
Oh no, it's Pereira, was it? I thought it was Risty that knocked him out.
It was Petrosian that got knocked out by Risty.
Yes, it was. See, good. Yes, it was Petrosian. Yeah, see, because
well, I think I've consumed that UFC Fight Pass Glory library.
It's good though. It's good. Two similar people in a certain sense of how formidable they are. Because Petrosian's another one.
Petrosian is the best kickboxer. Like you watch him and he's insane. Yeah.
Honestly, man, like when Lee introduced me to him as well, and I spent weeks just being like, "What is this guy on? He's just so."
Well, this is the thing. Like I say to certain guys in the gym, I'm like, just watch this guy. Watch him from his fight 10 years ago. Watch how he trains. There's not much he's doing in difference. He probably switched his S&C routine up a bit, but his pad work's all the same. The things he does on the bag, like you watch his Insta, nothing's changed. He's just become great at the basics towards his sort of style and his anatomy and stuff like that. He's not going to dance around with his hands down because his build, it's not suited for that.
Yeah, phenomenal. You know what I mean? He's just so precise. It's just like the precision. It's like, well, they always say, don't they? He's got different eyes, like because he can see.
He's seeing into the future.
Yeah, literally does seem like he's seeing into the future because he's just that little, like, you have to be a fraction ahead of what's going on. And he's there. Oh, man, yeah, Jojo Petrosian. But then like you said, it's like I tried to watch some of his training videos, and there is nothing flashy. Like when I watch stuff on YouTube, I quite like to watch flashy stuff. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. And he doesn't. He's not necessarily that flashy. It's just like sidestep stuff in it and get.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hard thing, isn't it? You know, you can watch YouTube and you can watch. I know it's different. It's a different sport, but you can watch Floyd Mayweather get padded by Roger Mayweather, rest in peace. But you can watch him get padded by him and be like, whoa, what's happening? All I can hear is and you can just see him do this crazy pad work. But can you throw a good 1-2? Can you throw a good 1-2 hook, right kick? You know, that's what you see Petrosian doing with his brother. You know what I mean? Bang, bang, kick, bang, bang, kick. And he's not throwing it quick. He's just throwing it. Everything's technical. Everything's perfect. And that's why, I don't know, there's something about it, though. I think that heralds to a lot of things. I thought this when I was on a walk the other day. And I was thinking, like, it's one thing being able to do that in a gym. And it's one thing someone teaching you that. But what makes a fighter great is being able to do that in front of like hundreds of people, thousands of people, or throughout the whole, you know, across to the world, to millions of people. And that's why you get paid the most money, because you can perform, because there's killers in the gym, but are you a killer when it comes down to the night? You know, and then you see Petrosian do it, and he's just fucking outright killer. I remember, did you see when he knocked Jordan Watson out as well? And he's a UK fighter. I could not believe it when he did that, because I thought, oh, Watson's going to fight him. Oh, you know.
Well, we were just body kicking the shit out of him. We were just slamming him with that right body kick at first, but I think obviously the hands of Petrosian are just.
Yeah, he came out in Southpaw, did Jordan, and that's his fight IQ. So he came out in Southpaw. On that, I think it was the third round. I think Watson was up. And he was beating.
He was winning the fight, wasn't he?
He was winning the fight technically, and then he came out in Southpaw. That was it. He'd been in Orthodox the whole time, and he came out in Southpaw. Petrosian just looked at him. You know what I mean? He's looking at him. He's taking him up. He fakes, and then he comes over and bang! He just knocks him, and you can see Jordan just like, oh, and he's left the room. You know what I mean? And then Jordan was fighting then to try and stay cognitively in the fight, but then. You know, Petrosian, but then he fought Petrosian's brother, I think.
And
he beat Jordan. I think that's Jordan's. He's put Jordan on a bit of a. He doesn't see. There's no fight announcements. I know nobody's fighting at the moment, but
no.
I don't know. I don't know if he's a bit like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You know.
Yeah. So it's a tough gig, isn't it? Like competing, definitely. Like a lot of guys, there's so many potential like killers in the gym, but to compete and sustain it, it's so difficult. Even myself, I should have had way more fights to the way I've trained. So, but putting it all together and having the right guys and fights coming through, it's a difficult thing, especially as you're later on in life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So what does the future hold then, Josh? You were just talking about that. What's the game plan as such?
So once we get back in the gym, we're going to be doing more. I'm going to be doing more classes. So like me actually teaching, because a lot of last year we were sort of focused. I was training in the class, but we're going to be bringing more beginners in, and I'm going to be doing my personal training as well.
Yeah.
And then and obviously I want to compete again, definitely. But for me, I see competing, like obviously it's great and I love it, but it's a quick buzz. It's not a quick buzz because you put so much hard work into it. And then there's a big step down and you've got to sort of pick up the pieces from where you left off. And there's other areas in my life that I sort of need to, you know, I don't want to work in a job for much longer, you know?
Yeah.
I'd rather create my own sort of business and then look at competing from there when there's sustainable sort of sustainability involved. But
yeah, it's the 40-hour work week, and it's the idea of like finding something that you love that you can do when then you don't really have to work, because again, you know what I mean, to a certain degree, because you found something that you love, you know what I mean, and therefore you can work less and earn the same amount of money, but you've got more time to do the things that you love whilst doing the thing that you love, and all that kind of thing. You know, it's like I think that would be a good thing, and I think trying to focus towards that and drive towards that is a good thing. I'm excited to see you do that. I'm excited for one to see the gym open again, but I'm excited to see people get close to each other again, because it's fucking ridiculous. And I'm excited to see that happen for you, man. I'm excited to learn from you and all that kind of stuff. And I think what would be cool is to do another one of these when the gym opens back up, because I really want to spend more time as well talking about some of the things, like going into some of the fighters and stuff, because I like and some of the great fights of all time, because I'd like to talk to you about some of them, because you I don't know, you seem to have watched loads of them, and you know.
I think you're going through phases, like the early. So when you first get involved in kick, you'll be saying with you with jits and whatnot, like. Most of my spare time now, it's for the past couple of years, it's more so training theory, like training, strength and conditioning, and like recovery, all that stuff. Whereas at the start, it was more just fights. Like,
yeah,
I'm watching all the early classic K1s, like Petrozzi and Walkout, Masato, like them guys went to war.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane when you watch them back. And then them 8-man tournaments, them tournament fights, man.
Yeah, fighting more than once on.
Yeah.
You need some big money to be like. If someone asked me to do one of them, I need a lot of money.
What was it that the 8-man tournaments in Glory or something? In Glory they were paying them like, were it $1 million or something? I can't remember what the prize.
It was the one-off one where it was Artem Joe Schilling won it, or I can't remember. God, I should remember that. It was all the middleweight, so you had like Joe Schilling, Artem Levin, Simon Marcus.
Yeah. Oh, who won that? Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I think it was Joe Schilling knocked out Simon Marcus in the fourth round.
Overtime round, weren't it?
And it's like a famous viral clip of his gum shield.
Yeah,
he did literally rope-a-dope him.
Bang!
Yeah.
Joe Schilling's a beast, man, and that's another one as well where, you know, he went to MMA and he did all right, but we haven't seen anything from him for ages now. He went to Bellator and. He just seems to be running like CBD.
Like CBD.
Yeah.
He's just like you're all badass. Like I watched a documentary of him. I think it's called Battle of the Belts in Thailand, and it's like a 20-minute doc on his process for training against his fight. And he's cutting weight 2 days out, smoking cigarettes. I'm like, oh my god, like.
Yeah.
Cutting weight's bad enough, but smoking cigarettes while cutting weight.
Yeah, Joe Rogan pulled him up on that loads, didn't he? I remember when he were on his podcast, Joe Rogan would make a point to him and just be like, "Listen, man, do you not want to stop smoking?" Because on one of them tournaments, he fought someone, went backstage, he's like, lit a cigarette up, and knew he had to fight again that night, so he's having a cigarette out back. You know what I mean? Just trying not to let the pain get involved. What he'd just taken on from that fight, and then both go out and fight again. I don't know. Some people are crazy, like, but some people do live life on the edge. But there is that crossover point of like of living life to the max, or no, you're not doing anything and just being conservative all the time. I don't know. Is there a middle ground? I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. Like myself, I mean, I've gone through like the phases of like intensely training, but the older I get now, I'm like, I want to be doing this when I'm 50, 60. Like, I want to be riding a skateboard at 50-year-old and like pumping weights and training martial arts. And, you know, you've got to look at it realistically, you know, instead of being a hero in your early 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I do think, I would say, I do think you've got quite a few fights in you and stuff like that, but it's where you want to go with it. And like you said as well, though, amount of people I've met.
For me, it's always been like, I've never said, oh, I want to be, like, I know I've built my skills and etc., but it's almost like you hear Rogan talk about, it's like how do you say it now? It's almost like a tool of guidance is martial arts, you know what I mean? Like the same reason you guys do when you're doing it, everything sort of clicks in other areas. And that's what it's like for me. And then occasionally it's like, right, when things are in order in my life, it's like I want to compete, I want to put the skills to the test. But I'll be honest and say, I'm not one of them guys who's like, I want to fight all the time, you know. Some of them guys are out there like that. I'm not going to pretend, like a lot of guys hide and say they want to fight all the time. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Like three times a year is like perfect for me. 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah, man.
I think you've got your, from what I can determine, is you've got your mental focus, you've got your, you're obviously very intelligent in the way you're going about your training program. And, you're being realistic and examining yourself, aren't you, for what you want and what you want to do. And you're saying like, this is part of my life, and I'm using this part of my life to amplify the rest of my life. And that's exactly what high performers do. You read any book on high performers, and that's what they use their hobbies as. Obviously their hobbies become more than a hobby because they get so good at it that they want to.
It's just a platform, isn't it? It's almost a platform to another outlet. But
which is perfect.
I don't want to be like. I mean, some guys are different. We look at like some of the old Dutch kickboxers, like Peter Aerts is like 40 years old, just like still throwing down, like brain damage galore and stuff. And it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Pick up a book, do like an online course, some shit.
It's not happening, is it? You can't. It's weird with people like that, man. I don't know. You hear it so much and you see it so much. People that just can't stop fighting, even when they've said that they've stopped fighting. How many times do you see it in MMA now? Gustafsson, I'm retiring. I'm done. I need to be out of it. I can't do this anymore. And then 2 months later, they're like hints at coming back. And the next thing you know, you see him on one of them like UFC things. He's coming back and he's fighting again, and he's found another opponent. It's like, oh man, you're either in or you're out. You know what I mean? But I think if you were getting paid loads of money, I think you might see the urgency of being like, ooh, I might go and have a quick fight with someone and earn $500,000 or something, or something like that, or like somebody gives you $100,000. Oh my God, you could get a massive deposit on a house or buy a house or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, I'll go and fight someone. You know, I might, but there's that trade-off as with fights. It's weird, but I mean, it is what it is. I think it's hard though to compete because like. I wanted to compete quite a bit this year with jiu-jitsu just to try starting to do it,
Well, you're the most at-risk person to compete. I'm like,
I know.
You need your tool more than anyone else. Like,
I know.
You've already got the life set doing your passion. Like,
I know. I always think that.
Let me just ruin this right here for a jiu-jitsu contest.
I was thinking that before. That's why I never started jiu-jitsu, because I was like, what happens, man? I don't know if I can risk doing jiu-jitsu. And then I started going, and that's it, man. It's so addictive. It's like, it's really addictive. And then it becomes your way of working out, burning calories, of staying psychologically on track in life, and everything. Just what you were talking about, staying on track in life. It kind of fits into everything else that you're doing, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do dread the day, because there was one guy, we'll go in a minute, I'll let you go, but we'll come and get you back on.
Man, I'm good, I'm not getting shouted up here.
So there was one guy where I was training on a daytime class, and he came in and I pulled him into my guard, and as he came into my guard, like he put his hands down to base out. He put it on the ground rather than on me to base out on me, which he should have really done. He put it out onto the ground, and as he put it onto the ground, he was just like, oh. And I was just like, what? You're right, dude. I started going for something else. I think I'm trying to go for a Kimura. Turned around, and his fucking thumb was out of socket.
I remember. I think Dwayne was telling me about that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And I was just like, oh. And that's when I thought, when I got back in the car and started driving home, I started thinking, what am I doing? Like, what happens if like I snap a finger back or something like that, or like Joe beats me up and fucking
tattoo with your mouth?
It's just like it's like a evidence of how stupid we are as human beings.
Yeah,
we know the worst outcomes, but we're still willing to push.
Living life on the knife edge, that's what it is, isn't it? You constantly just the fine line between this and that. You know what I mean? Do I want to?
Especially doing jits, man. Like,
yeah.
I remember saying to Dwayne, like, if I had two bodies, I'd definitely be like, do jits and wrestling. Right. Like, two bodies. Like, I do that in my second life, but. Because it is so much fun. Well, it's just brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's fucking. It is that trade-off of real life and earning how you earn your money, and then what you enjoy doing. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember when you first ever came, when I seen you in Jai. How far into your martial arts career were you then? How many years ago was that? That was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or something, when I first.
Yeah, so I obviously did bits of martial arts growing up. I only started, I stepped in, it was Aire Valley. It was 2013, that winter.
Yes.
Showed up super keen, blah, blah, blah. And I was fighting within 4 months. And bear in mind, I'd never sparred properly before that. So I was getting when Dion was there, he was slapping me around. And so I had 2 fights there in the space of 3 weeks. And I think Dwayne said, obviously, look, you like striking, get you sent over to Jai. And that's at that point when I went over to Jai, then Matt's like, I've trained in several gyms. I've never been where they were like such a amount of killers, like when there were Luke and Isaac and Joe, little Chris and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was like, even when I went out to Thailand and trained like with a pro MMA team and stuff, like this is light work compared to like, because everyone had such a diverse style as well. It wasn't like Luke and Chris were like your more pure Thais, and obviously Isaac and Joe had the funky styles too, and the height as well. Like there was tall guys.
Joe was insane, man. Now I think back to that, is what a fucking mad group of people Robin had going there. I think eventually he lost because everybody started moving away from there, and then they downsized the gym. You could see he lost the passion for it, and it's fair enough because he's a fucking talented guy. It's Robin. The amount of things that guy does, it's unbelievable. He's a great musician, but he can kind of was like, do you know what? I'm done now. You know, I mean, I'll still do this, and I'm still instruct people and stuff like that. But at that point, I'm so glad, although I never fought or anything like that, but I'm so glad I trained in that gym at that point because there were some really cool nights there. You know what I mean? Like Joe, Joe, you will have felt it as well. You know, like when you went there and it was addictive. You need to come and train here. You come there and then there's like these fucking people there and you're like, oh my God. And I remember
bad with them Monday night sessions, man, were killer.
Yeah.
He would just, Robin just like worked you so hard. You felt you definitely got fitter, but I was just like,
again, that drive, that goes back to when I was training there. We talk about the sort of being in that sympathetic state too long. Like you training and finish, it was 8:45.
Yes. Yeah.
But then I was commuting then, so I wasn't getting home till 10:30, like eating late at night, and then up at 6:30 in the morning. So that is not an 8 hours deep sleep. Do you know what I mean? That's a very disturbed sleep, especially if you've been sparring and like you're shadow boxing underneath your bed sheets.
Because it's not. It's not only that. It's like sparring. It sets.
You've just been in a fight and you're expecting to sleep 2 hours
later.
Yeah,
you're still shaking. You're still shaking from just like pent-up aggression, you know.
Well, it is the sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight nervous system.
Exactly.
You've triggered it. Yeah. I think if I take anything away from that, this conversation, Josh, that is something that I'm going to take away from this is the fact that we shouldn't be stressing ourselves too late on in the evening. And that we should be doing it earlier on in the day, which it's something I have known, but this is really emphasized it, and thank you for that because I need somebody else to tell me really.
I think it's down to like it's context in it because I'm very fortunate. All the classes I do are at a perfect time, sort of 6 till 7. Whereas I know you guys have the Monday and Wednesday classes. It's like a 9 o'clock finish, isn't it? So it can be difficult. But again, it comes down to like, are you going home and then sitting in front of the TV and watching like Saving Private Ryan war film, like amping yourself up, or you like all the lights are on dim? Obviously, like you'll have your blue blockers on and stuff like that, and like deep breathing and shit, and like a nice warm shower. It just comes with experience. Like I tell some young guys this at the gym, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah. Dude, like that just made me laugh a little bit when you were talking about that. How different is it if I could have said that to you, like, in 5 years' time, this is what you'll be talking about, but this is what you've learned from people like Ben Greenfield and stuff like that, just things that like fucking that are invaluable, you know. Just before this, I'm just in the back room just fucking trying to put up a sauna that I've bought on my own, and I'm useless at putting things together, but I've been trying to drill it and put it together all day. And then, you know, because I'm trying to implement a sauna routine and then straight into the cold plunge outside. It's all that kind of stuff that you start picking up that me and Joe have talked about. And I know you talked about, I've seen you, you know, like on social media, like consuming things like that. I think trying to say that to some people, because you think because you're learning about it that everyone's doing it, but they're not doing it. You know what I mean? I think one thing that I need to implement is stretching. I don't stretch nowhere near enough, and I think as I get older, it's going to get harder and harder to do the things that I want to do. I can't expect to train 5 or 3 times or 4 times a week and do things normally. You've got to take care of yourself. Because Goggins talks about that. You know, he was he was fucking in a really bad way, and then started stretching, and now he stretches like 2 hours a day or something.
He's got a suit. I'm like, that's what's he stretching there? Like, I don't understand. What's he doing?
But he's a man.
I don't look at Goggins for any of my
my
training theory. Like, he's a man on his own.
He is a complete man on his own, and he's like you say.
Like, you take inspiration, like when you're having a bad day, and you're like, that's when you need them guys to like peer in. Like Goggins and your Jockos and stuff like that. Like.
Yeah, and you can see as well when you're training at the gym how you could take someone's soul, just little bits and bats where you just you're pushing them a bit too far, and you're like, in your head you're like, you know, or you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's all good fun stuff to do, dude. We're gonna let you go, man. It's been proper wicked to talk to you, and awesome. Like I said before, I want to do this again, but I want to find a way that we can watch fights together on this and do some kind of funky fucking one of a kind of like podcast where we can
break.
Some kind of breakdown of some Joe Valtellini fights or Nicky Holskin fights, because Nicky Holskin's one of my favorite kickboxers as well.
He's I don't want to get into that. He still is. I don't want to be disloyal.
We nearly started something else.
I think like as my style's changed, I've gone away from like the Dutch style.
Yeah.
I'm like. And you see it with Holskin versus Doombait. It's a prime example.
Yeah. I know what you mean. We definitely right, because I could have got into it there. Let's do that next time. We need
nice to speak to you anyway.
No worries.
Fight companion.
We'll all get our blue blockers on Leak and be in his sauna
and. Legend, dude. Right. Hopefully, see you soon, man.
Yeah, hopefully, a few weeks.
Yeah.
Take it easy, man. Thank you for doing that.
Nice one, guys. Take care.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.